Hi, I'm Randy, and this is Dave.
We're the founders of Bombas, the most comfortable socks in the history of feet.
So comfortable, we sold and donated millions of pairs.
To sell and donate a lot of socks, we became obsessed with comfort.
We reinvented the sock from the ground up, adding comfort innovations along the way.
It worked. People tried them, loved them, told their friends about them,
helping us sell and donate millions of pairs.
Try them now at bombas.com/comfy and get 20% off your first order. That's bombas.com/comfy.
So we're sitting here with my friend Bruce Springsteen.
We just grew to trust each other.
I felt really at home around you.
Renegades, Born in the USA, a new Spotify original podcast from Higher Ground. Listen free only on Spotify.
This is Flags Fly Forever with Mike Gianella, John Hegland, Samuel Hale, and the Baseball Prospectus Fantasy Team.
So welcome to episode 251 of Flags Fly Forever, a Baseball Prospectus Fantasy Baseball podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Gianella. With me is your other co-host, John Hegland, and behind the glass is Samuel Hale. How are you both doing?
Yeah, I like the way that you began that with so this is Flags Fly Forever. You know, like it was just continuing a kind of ongoing conversation and the listener had just wandered into the room. So, yes, here we are chatting about shortstops. I'm doing well. How are you, Samuel?
You know, I'm doing pretty well. I was having a conversation before we hopped on our call. Y'all are both married, so I've got a good friend of mine who's going through the pandemic dating process. And man, I am alone, but I'm kind of okay with that because, like, just the process of it seems like a beating. Like, it really does. Like, I don't know exactly, you know, what it's going to be like non-pandemic, but like in the age of COVID, dating sucks. And like it did before, but like it seems like based on their experience, it sucks even more now because you got like the term "they're in my COVID bubble" just kind of sent me like I got punched in the face. Like, what does that even mean? Like, does that mean you're serious? Does that just mean like you can, you know, whatever? I don't understand like what are the rules anymore? So be glad you're married. That's the key. And if you're listening and you're married, mazel tov to you as well.
I always hated dating, to be honest. But shortstops.
Yeah, good segue. I'm still thinking back to the whole beginning thing with the so, and you know, we try to turn this into an MPRS show, like, so you're listening to Shortstop Week, you know, kind of do that really slow thing where we expand the already long podcast. But you know, I guess on the dating thing, like I dated somebody a long time and then we broke up and I started dating my, you know, now wife shortly thereafter. So I did not have much time that I was single as an adult. So yeah, and I'm not really the right person to ask. So as John said, shortstop. So shortstop, as John said in his stated position piece on Monday, is full of stars. It's a fun position at the top. It reminds me a little bit of third base. I think it's even stronger at the top, but it has a similar kind of rapid, precipitous drop off. So, John, what did you find in your stated position piece? What was your big takeaway or your couple of big takeaways?
I think from a fantasy point of view, it's important not to just write off the position saying, okay, there's plenty of talent and I can't really go wrong drafting one of the shortstops in the top 15. You know, even if you're in a 15-team league, you know, you have the opportunity. You will likely end up with one of those top 15, all of which go in the top 150 picks or thereabouts. But because, you know, not all of those stars are going to pan out, and at least not to the degree we expect them to, I think you almost have to take a closer look at the top of the position and really do your homework and figure out what you want and who who you want at what stage of the draft, if it's a draft or if you're in an auction, like really kind of know what you want to bid for these players, because they will likely, if you do well, they will likely be the cornerstone of your team. But there's a chance that a few of those top 15 shortstops could be landmines. So you want to just tread carefully. And the other side of that is, don't be afraid to take more than one top 15 shortstop, because you're cornering that market as opposed to the other players in your league. And it's just not a position that where the idea of scarcity is relevant anymore. So it's almost like if a shortstop is the value pick, say you get down to like the 9th or 10th round, take that shortstop. Don't worry if you've already got one. Don't feel like you have to wait till the end game to grab a middle infielder. Just take the value there, even if it's a shortstop only player.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up if you didn't. You used, I think, Trey Turner and Gleyber Torres in your piece. The thing that jumped out at me about your piece and ties into what you're saying, when you look at last year and you break players down to groups of 10, 1 through 10, it's just a robust looking group. Like 11 through 20, still some good players, but the power really is what drops off. Like that was the piece that jumped out at me. An average of 11.8 home runs in the top 10 to 4.9 in the next group, which is almost identical to 21 through 30. So, we always talk about steals among shortstops at the top. That's the piece that I was like, wow, like there's power there in that top 10, and you're not going to get that later. The other thing I thought too, and I mentioned this will be on my ADP piece, which will be out by the time you're listening to this on Friday. There's not, in the past, there used to be a lot of second base shortstop players. And now through the first 3 tiers or even the first 4 tiers, the only players we had who were second base shortstop were Tommy Edman and Jonathan Villar. So really, when you're drafting a shortstop, you're drafting a shortstop. You don't even really have to think about, I might move him here later. I might move him there. No, you're just drafting a shortstop. But to your point, John, that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And yeah, in years past, I think we've almost gone a little too far with the multi-position, where we actually don't take players where they're valuable because we have it in our minds that, our MI position should be someone who, is multi-positional, or we are sort of saving roster spots for those kinds of players. And yeah, it's just grab the guy who's going to get you the best stats.
Yeah, I mean, I think that stuff, and I think you pointed this out too. It matters late in the draft or like later, where if you don't have enough speed or you're lacking at a position and you want to grab someone with multi-position eligibility, that makes sense. But yeah, first half, maybe in like first 60% of the draft, I agree. Just get the player, get the stats. Obviously, you can't grab 2 DHs or you don't want to lock up. If you have 2 shortstops, you might not want to lock up a third shortstop in your util or DH slot, but otherwise, don't worry about that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So the 5-star players, let's kick it off. And as always at shortstop, there's more here than anywhere except outfield, which dovetails with ADP. So the 5-star players this year are Trey Turner, Fernando Tatis Jr., Trevor Story, Francisco Lindor, and Adalberto Mondesi. So this is quite a group. And, I would say with the exception of Mondesi, these are all not just fantasy superstars or potential superstars. These are real life superstars as well.
It's funny. We were, so this is random, but one of the things we do at our family dinner is that each of us, my wife and my son and I, we bring up one thing that is sort of relevant to our day that the other two probably don't care about, but it's kind of our time to talk about whatever it is that's going on in our world, or something that we learned or saw or read. And so my wife asked what we were podcasting about tonight, and I said it was shortstops, and I was explaining how it's kind of the premier position and how I was kind of working this out, but it makes sense that now, among the kind of pool of baseball players, shortstops are often the most athletic players on the field. So it makes sense that these are the players who will also excel in power, in speed, in all facets of the game, not just defense. So that's one kind of back of the envelope theory for why shortstop is so rich in just stars that excel at every facet of the game. So I was trying to explain this to my son, and he just responded by talking about Pokemon, which is his usual MO.
Which Pokemon though?
I don't know. He got a legendary Ho-Oh, if that means
anything. Oh wow,
to you.
That actually does mean something. That's pretty cool.
I'm so glad it does. So actually, Mike, my question for you is Turner or Tatis. Like, I was pretty clearly in the Trey Turner camp. The market doesn't agree with that. Currently, Tatis is going at the average of 2.46. Turner not until 7.15, using the decimals for those early picks. Make the case for, I guess I'm assuming that you're still leaning Trey Turner among the two from conversations we've had. So make the case for Turner over Tatis, if you would.
Well, I think there's a few things. I think I asked me to play devil's advocate, make the case for Tatis.
Oh, maybe I should do that.
Well,
I can do that part.
Yeah, you are right. I do prefer Turner. And so the biggest reason, and it's a pro Turner reason, is it's the steals. There's just such a high level of steals. And I think I made this point in last year's tier article and not this year's, but a lot of steal players, and Mondesi, we'll get to him, are attached to some kind of statistical baggage. And, it's a bad batting average typically, but sometimes it's no power, sometimes it's both. They might be at the bottom of the lineup, so they lose some opportunities as far as runs and RBI. Turner doesn't have that baggage. He hits for batting average. I mean, he's a really good average hitter. He has power. We can debate. He was on pace for 32 home runs last year. I think that's a little high, but 2025 is a pretty realistic expectation. And if you disagree, by all means let me know. But Turner could very easily be and I said this in the piece too, a 25-40 player. And you could think, oh, that's completely realistic for Trey Turner. I wouldn't bat an eye if he finished with that. He could do better, but let's not get greedy. But if he's a 25-40 player with, he has a career, 296 batting average, but let's say that he hits 290 just again, or 285. That's really solid. I mean, that's just top shelf. So, a lot of it is just that he's got that speed, and it comes with a lot of other good stuff. Now, Fernando Tatis, if we're talking about, a dynasty league or 5 years from now, which player I want to have, it's Tatis. I mean, that's not an argument, and it would be a really, silly to argue against him. There's just a lot of volatility in Fernando Tatis. And I feel that a mistake that might be happening, and, we saw this mistake with Mike Trout, when he, after his huge first year, I think people are assuming on improvement for a 21-year-old shortstop. It's possible this is what Fernando Tatis is, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he's, a great player, but, if he's only going to hit 277 or maybe even dip a little bit below that, if the home runs are going to kind of be, less of a dynamic jump for him, and he's going to be more of a 30 to 35 home run player with 15 to 20 steals, that's really good. I just don't necessarily. I think I'd rather have Turner and the stats going the other way. And it's also possible this is a weird argument. A lot of these players, we still haven't seen a full season from Tatis. I'd like to see what the grind of 162 games, assuming we get that in this year, does to him. I still think he'll be really good. We just haven't seen that slump or that down period yet from him. So, but this is less of a knock on Tatis and just more of a statistical argument for Turner in terms of those steals.
Yeah, I think it's telling that I'm looking at the act right now, and Turner is ranked as the top shortstop. Tatis is ranked second, but their lines don't look. They both look extremely valuable, right? That Turner is projected for 23 homers and 40 steals. Tatis 32 homers and 19 steals. Turner with a 291 average. Tatis 263. But that steals difference I mean, that's the major part of this, is a difference in almost $20 worth of value. Turner projects